In this episode, we meet Ampersand from the planet Bon Jovi, the waterslide capital of the universe.
He works for Ifrid, where he's proudly squashed many innovations.
So roll up your towel into a pillow, lean back, and
prepare to learn about curtailing bad juju, confluence dating, and the soup of the bidet.
Shut up and sit down.
welcome back to Hitchhikers and Appetizers, coming to you from the Booth 42 at Millyways, the restaurant at the end of the universe. I am, of course, Trellis Gardeen, your host. Back in form. The sheening of my vocal cords has completely finished its process. My voice is back to its golden dulcet tones.
Dulcet tones, dulcet lager.
And to complement my dulcetness, you know him, you love him, there's a lot of him to love, Horatio Zinn.
Hello, universe at large. I am Horatio Zinn, and I am large as well. Not as large as the universe, but I am working.
You're trying. You are trying.
I am trying, and the trying is the important thing, isn't it?
I hope you don't keep expanding and knock me out of the booth, because that would be awkward.
That would be awkward. We might just have to put you in an adjacent booth at that point, or get you a booster seat or something. We'll just add a little tall stool at the end of the booth or something for you to perch on.
A booster seat?
A booster seat.
A booster seat.
It will make you tall. It's a booster seat is a bit like plastic surgery, except for you.
Don't infantilize me, Horatio.
On Glandar, don't you have surgically attached booster seats?
No, we do not. That is insulting.
So that someone can sit taller in their chair.
I would just add more to my vertebrae. I would add more vertebrae to my spine if I wanted to be taller. Why would I put something out there that someone could actually see and know it's not me being taller?
Let me put this forward. As anyone who knows you knows, your head is just a little bit oversized, and so it has a tendency to tip over. Can you imagine that with an expanded spine, Trellis? You would just fold right in half.
You know, it would show how flexible I am.
I just...
I got you, didn't I?
No, I was just imagining the tipping over part of just... I think we should try it. See, I predict you would fold. I predict it would just bong down, yes.
I'm willing to put good money on it that I would not.
All right, well, we will try it. We will try in a future episode. We'll see.
But the immediate part of this episode brings us to, you know what?
A guest.
Our guest.
Our guest. We share in the honor of having a guest.
Let's welcome today's guest to the booth. If you would like to introduce yourself, please feel free.
Well, I'm very happy to be here. It's a very comfortable booth, nice place to be, and thank you for having me aboard. My name's Ampersand. I hail from Bon Jovi.
From the planet Bon Jovi?
Nice, very nice.
It's nice, but it's slippery when wet, but it's a good place to hail from.
Well, it is the waterslide capital of the universe. Water slides everywhere, not just for fun and enjoyment, but also transportation.
And also the nude water slides.
Yes.
It's a very important part of this to limit the friction that you would have from any kind of adornments or clothes, things that you may have on yourself. So your extra slime or whatever, filth, helps you move around the planet with ease.
That's wonderful.
If filth is a lubricant on your planet, I have to believe Horatio might just fly off the slide into oblivion.
I might. It depends. How are the slides very large? Do they come in various sizes?
We have a big and tall flume.
Ooh, nice.
Do you have a bigger and taller flume for me, perhaps?
I think wider might be more on Horatio. Bigger, wider.
I'd say
Horatio.
just something that expands in all directions would be necessary. As you can see, you're here next to me. There's a lot.
Yes, there's plenty of flume to fill. You would do a perfectly fine job. You would be a national treasure if you came to Bon Jovi.
Oh, I would love to. We'll have to work out a trip for that. That would be wonderful. I'm just trying to imagine how these flumes work. Is it just a circuit, a system of flumes all over your world?
It's along the lines. that you would essentially have a network of flumes that would move between places,
Yes.
and then occasionally some sort of physical activity to get to the top of another flume.
Ooh, well, there's where you're losing Horatio.
I-
Physical activity.
I like to just let gravity take its course. I find it's much more efficient.
Yes, we've done a lot on Bon Jovi to suppress gravity, and that's part of the job that what I do for a living. Actually, I work for the Intergalactic Federation of Innovation, Resistance, and Disinformation. I'm the one who slows down breakthroughs.
Oh, nice.
Now, what was that again? I'm sorry, you said or even just the initials for that.
It was the
Intergalactic
Intergalactic
Federation of Innovation, Resistance, and Disinformation, which we sometimes call IFIRD.
IFIRD.
If you're, that's very catchy.
IFIRD, which is if your new innovation is getting in my way, we're going to make it go away.
Oh, very good. If you'd. That's very catchy. I can imagine the commercials, the jingles that might come from something like that.
I'm terrible with acronyms, to be honest.
He just says the full thing out. Every time.
Yeah, Intergalactic Federation of Resistance of Disinformation.
Of innovation resistance. We're the ones who get in the way. We're not resistance to disinformation. We promote disinformation to limit the application of innovation.
That's very complicated.
I think that would almost be harder to come up with the disinformation to counter the innovation. How much work are you actually putting in to disinform people?
Oh, lots. When you're out here in the universe and, you see innovation occurs at a very rapid clip. And it wasn't always that way in the history.
Too rapid.
Oh, back in the early days after the Big Bang, when everything started, innovation came kind of slow. You had some fire popping up here and there, wheel here and there,
Right.
Pretty slow. But when things start speeding up and you start getting innovation coming at a breakneck pace, as you approach infinity, the information stream is so fast and the innovation is so quick that you have to slow it down. So my job is to pump the brakes a little bit.
What about an airbag? Could you have an information airbag to stop it?
That's usually happens after the accident. So the idea is to prevent the accident by pumping the brakes. You know how innovation goes. You could cure disease throughout the universe, and people are like, but you have one, you lose one school bus down a black hole, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy.
Oh,
Right.
I hate that. It doesn't matter which school bus either.
All those bus riders drawn out to a singularity.
So you said the accident. Is this a regular occurrence of some kind? Like you expect the accident to happen very often, or is it?
Well, it's more of a preventative thing, but as the pace of innovation speeds, you are more likely to hit an accident. Right? Happens 1 in a million times. So as you go from a million innovations a year to a billion innovations a year to a trillion innovations a year, you're only going to have orders of magnitude more screw ups. And then that leads to bad juju throughout the universe, which is the force that we try to curtail.
You want to curtail the bad juju, is what you're saying.
That's right. I'm kind of my official title within the organization is curtailer of bad juju.
That's I just noticed the tattoo on your across your knuckles, no juju. Now I got a good look at that, so I was wondering what that was about. And now, is that like you're punching bad juju right in its metaphorical face?
Or oh no, punch it in the neck, punch it in the throat.
Yeah, give bad juju a throat punch with my 6 fingers.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, 6 fingers. We should point that out. 6 fingers.
Yes.
Six fingers is optimal for strangling, as I've discovered. People come to Glandar, have an extra, usually mafia, lower level soldiers in the mafia coming because they got to do some dirty work. And they get an extra finger added because, as they've discovered, and this is universal. It's across all species. 6 fingers on each hand is the best and most efficient way to strangle someone. Well, I want to get back to the water slides here, though, because
yes, definitely back to the water slide.
Making your entire transportation system out of water slides is an innovation.
Yes.
So how did you balance that innovation with trying to hold things back?
It's an innovation that works because there's few hazards that can happen. Everybody's in a controlled track, and as long as organisms that inhabit the planet are evenly spaced within the flumes, And that's where the innovation comes in, is the friction plane and the addition of different lubricants that will accelerate or deaccelerate you to ensure that there are no accidents and there is no misfortune that's coming between occupants in the flume.
Gotcha. Now, I would think that maybe some collisions could be possibly construed as a date.
And sometimes they are. Sometimes we can set up a flume meeting, like a confluence of flumes. And that's what they call it. They call it the confluence.
Confluence. Got it.
It is a confluence, yes. And that's the name of our dating app. It's confluence. And you can figure out if you want to connect with somebody. You time your release through two ends of the flume and you meet in the middle.
Oh.
And again, we're already without clothes and things, so that meeting is kind of an instant connection.
You don't actually accidentally, like, because of all the lubricants, just slide past
each other? Yeah, that would be awkward.
Occasionally that does happen, but the majority of the times we can control this to ensure proper collision within the flume, within flume space.
What happens in flume space stays in flume space?
That's very good. Yes, that's very true. What happens in flume space stays in flume space. But that's just one of our many innovations. We do lots of other things too that maybe you've heard about.
Let's find out.
This is your chance to get Bon Jovi's innovations out to the universe. I think, is there any sort of finder's fee, perhaps?
Trellis would like a finder's fee. I was just wondering if there would be free snacks involved.
Yes, there are free snacks involved with we have vending machines and things like this that they've had existence in other places in the planet because those are relatively safe. Those are things innovations that we were able to stall in a very primitive form. It's got a little curly cue that drops a bag of whatever you want. And that's a good way of delivering. You know, like here in this restaurant, we wouldn't have such types of innovation because you have other ways of delivery. But in the other environments, this one works well.
So that makes sense, so you don't have the replication vending machine where you can pretty much just punch it up on the screen, it replicates it for you, and spits it out the bottom. Nothing to hang up, no virtual chips hanging on any sort of hook.
Yes. So disappointing.
Well, that's one of the innovations I successfully killed.
That was you.
Yeah, that was us.
You killed that one.
We stopped that one. We
I have a bone to pick with you then, Ampersand.
It's gotten a bit tense.
The waiting room at the office on Glandar that I worked in, one of those showed up, and I was like, praise be.
Yes.
I'm going to be able to order whatever snack I want at lunch, and then
he started a cult about it.
The next day, some guys in white coats came and took it away, and I was not happy about it. And they came in and brought in the thing that you're talking about with the little spirals, and every time I wanted to get something out of there, I think this was on purpose. I think they programmed it to do this. It would get stuck and not drop down for me to get it.
We can't really cop to any such programming as being part of the software of these machines, but they do kind of analyze through a little camera portal who is doing the work or who's seeking snacks, and if it looks as though you're someone who shouldn't have them, it may hang them up on purpose, and that's a decision. Yeah.
Oh, Trellis, it knows you too well, Trellis.
Look at this. Do I look like I need to lose weight? I can just go in.
Maybe it looked inside you and saw that you were wanting for something. Trellis.
Yeah, I wanted some chips.
Yes, it had no problem serving me when I've tried those before.
Well, that's clearly a travesty.
In fact, I walk up to the machine and it sings my praises and just says, "Here, what do you want, Horatio? Yeah, please empty our machine." Something. I can't remember. I was too busy stuffing my face.
You did kind of touch on it when you said it can see what's inside you. There's also another innovation that we wrecked is the internal selfie stick. Which seemed like a very interesting idea. If your insides are working for your entire life in complete darkness, and the internal selfie stick would allow you, if we allowed this, to kind of monitor your internal insides just to get a glimpse of what's going on. But we killed it.
Some people's insides probably got a little bit too addicted to it, I would think. Trying to get pictures out on the sub-ether network, wanting to become famous in their own right. And I could just see how that would be a bad idea. I totally agree. This is an innovation I agree should have been
Well, I know many doctors who rely upon colonoscopies and things like that for their fortune, I believe, were upset because it meant just anyone could send out a picture of their insides of their colons, their whatever other spaces inside that doctors like to invade with cameras.
Yes, that was exactly the problem. It seemed like a bad idea because once you start opening up the orifices to anyone who's got a tube and a camera on the end of it, now all of a sudden, everybody's an expert in diagnosing a, precarcinogenic adenoma. You know how it goes.
Oh, and they're shoving it in your face wherever you go.
People were putting filters on their melanomas and googly eyes and all sorts of weird stuff.
There was the one time you said basically it looks like a cat. Your colon looks like a cat. Turn off the cat filter. It looks ridiculous for your spleen to have ears and whiskers.
Yes.
Now, does everyone on Bon Jovi work to squash innovation, or is that just one career you could possibly have on there? Someone's got to. I would imagine someone's running the slides, someone's got to lubricate people before they go on the slides. So I guess what part of the population is involved in this innovation squashing?
Yeah, well, slide traffic controllers, you certainly have those. Yeah, it's really it's my job is the most part as the overseer of innovation restrictions. And it really does help us live a much more simple lifestyle here on Bon Jovi. We're not worrying so much about all of the fast and new as we're trying to let the air out of the balloon here. We're trying to get it so that the newest innovations that are allowed are things that are relatively tamped down. And I can try to think of another example, like other ones that we killed, the face bidet.
Ooh.
Okay? Yeah, it seemed like
Why
a
would
good.
you kill the face bidet?
It seemed like a good idea, but all of a sudden it seems that it has its hazards.
I was just thinking that I need a sink. I need a water jet for all the holes in my face.
It seemed to go hand in hand with the internal selfie stick. You want to cleanse the orifices before inserting, and all of these things went hand in
Very
hand.
wise.
And together were innovations that in total were even more dangerous than if they stood on their own.
Now, think about it though, Horatio. You're thinking the face bidet would be a good idea, but that's going to just completely clean all the food and crumbs out of your beard.
Oh, no, never mind. No. I
Exactly.
take it back.
Exactly. That's years of effort on your part to store up food in that beard of yours. I mean, honestly, there's probably an entire ecosystem in there at this point.
I wouldn't mind cleaning out my nostrils at some point.
Organisms are evolving. If there's something you want to put the damper on, Ampersand, it should probably be all the life that's forming in Horatio's beard.
No.
Could we potentially shave it off as one mass and soak it in hot water to make soup for millions?
Oh, maybe we could soak it, but the shaving off, honestly, I don't know what's under here.
He probably just would rather put his face into a hot bowl of water and do it that way.
Yes, I don't know what's under all this hair.
And then actually maybe you're getting a little bit of the bidet angle and making soup. So you're really doing two things at once, although that would be innovative.
Would that be bidet soup? Bidet soup?
Bidet soup, soup of the bidet.
Soup of
That's
the
what it
bidet.
is.
Yes.
Soup of the bidet.
Not many. That's what's the word I'm looking for? It's something you don't like at first, and then later you're not sure you like it, but you're eating it anyway. What do you call that? An acquired taste.
Yeah, so you would want to maybe keep the microbiome that's there. Like you say, just soak the beard in the hot water. Let the dainty flavors of human funk and leftover food grace in themselves into that soup, and then pull it back out and repopulate. And I think you're onto something here. That's a really great idea.
Actually, Human Funk and Leftover Food was one of the albums by my band Purity, as it so happens.
An album or two albums? Because Human Funk sounds like an album.
It was a double album. Was that the live?
Yes. Release?
The jams. The Human
the worst
Funk.
battle
Yes.
of the bands?
Yes, the Human Funk went on for days.
Oh.
Yeah,
you could hear it through.
You can still smell it.
Hear it
too.
and smell it through many walls.
It was a scratch and sniff album.
Yeah, I mean, well, basically, you put the needle on the record, and that was the scratch.
Yes.
That started the odor that then carried on for days.
You could not listen.
So even
to
though
it without
you could have
smelling
stopped listening to it, and still, the funk was there, in the room, waiting for you when you came home.
We were responsible for selling more air freshener and incense than any band in the universe because of that one album. Just half the album It was enough to stink up a whole building, really.
Yeah, that was another innovation that that would have worked very well with the music, was the smellophone.
Oh yes, that would have brought it right home. Yes.
Then that way you could say, hey, listen, you could connect with a friend and say, hey, smell what I'm listening to.
Yes.
This is terrible. This album's terrible. Here, smell it.
Yeah, listen to what I'm smelling. And that's very good for those who may be vision or hearing impaired, to stimulate another sense through your music by allowing the smell of musicians to permeate.
Purity was while they were the actual winners of the worst battle of the bands, legally
Battle of the Worst Bands,
band,
yes.
they were actually the most accessible to audiences of different, listening, smelling, touching. I would imagine if the funk was really thick, tasting would kind of go with the smelling.
Sometimes they would just sense us.
Yeah, there's a sensory.
Something.
Feel something. Purity was a full-on sensory experience.
Yes, we had to be.
For both good and bad.
Mostly
You opened
bad.
for Human Funk Railroad.
We did, which they, for one thing, that was a very long show. It would just roll through. You'd have to have tracks, of course, to do the shows. Not a normal stage. They would just circle the audience on a track, and then there are times they would go through a tunnel and say, "Oh, are they coming back?" And then they would. It's encore.
And then the best part was you would smell them before they got there.
Yes, and it mixed with all the other smells there too.
So now on Bon Jovi, this question just jumped into my mind, Ampersand. Since everyone's sliding around nude, what is there in terms of fashion? Are there no clothes at all? Or is it just when you're on the slide you don't wear clothes?
Not only on the slide.
Okay.
Off the slide, anything that's not plant-based.
Okay.
So we're always adorned in something fully synthetic, and you can imagine that there's a variety of different types of interesting petroleum-based distillates that you can fashion into clothing that people really enjoy. And some of them actually do give you the ability to operate in the flume, like latex-based, that sometimes will enhance your plumage and travel. Those kinds of things are sometimes allowed and sometimes promoted, but other than that, you can guess what other kinds of things we might wear in the flume.
I'm noticing what you're wearing. We talk about what you're wearing. I know the latex. It looks like this is just one layer is just painted on, like that. It almost looks like skin, but it's a totally different color than the rest of you. And I love the sheen, the unnatural sheen of. Is that a polyester type something you've got going on there? The pants.
It's actually a residual from other parts of the universe. It's the stuff that you would dip your pliers handles into when the original rubber would wear off, and it gives you a nice. It's kind of a combination of that and then that stuff that you would put an ice cream cone upside down in to make a hard smell.
Yes.
Yeah,
that technology has been responsible for so many innovations. Ice cream cone.
But safe technology. This is something that we actually did allow for humans to be dipped in confections. We're good there.
Oh, nice.
Or any organism, not necessarily humans.
No, you don't want to limit that. What you can be dipped in, that would be wrong.
As you're dipping your population in confections, has that attracted any other beings interested in conquering you as a food source?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. You are on the radar of many, like ants to a picnic.
You can see where Trellis's brain goes naturally.
It seems like an obvious point. If you're dipping yourself in, I don't know what, syrups, chocolates, dressings, or sauces.
Wham Bam sauce, perhaps.
The main purpose is for it to allow for better plumage. There are beings that would pick up on that and be like, hey, this is a food source that we really don't have to do much to. It's being washed for us. And really, all we got to do is sit at the end of the flume and wait for it to come to us.
Yes, you just waiting for morsels of flume nuggets to come down from the top of the flume. And that's exactly what happens. You can imagine how often that demise marks our planet's existence.
That was probably really bad if it's one of those date flumes and you're expecting the person to come through and at some point they're just eaten by another being. In one sense, they did make a connection, just not with you. But you did save money because you didn't have to buy them dinner.
No, when your date is consumed by another being before dates, that's some of the worst dates right there. or mercy?
Yeah, that's the flume of shame home.
Yes.
Flume of shame home.
Yeah, go home in the flume of shame, and then it happens.
Yeah.
But you can imagine there's lots of other good connections and other ways of trying to limit being eaten at the end of a flume, even though you're covered in confections to speed and enhance your friction through the flume. But so it is a rare occurrence, but it does happen. And to be honest, it makes the hookups a little more special when they happen, because you know that this could have ended very differently.
Yes. There's what's the word I am looking for? There is a matchmaker looking out for you, hopefully, to make sure that your soulmate does not turn into soul food.
Oh, that's wonderful.
That's very good analogy.
Trellis does have a way with words. You did know he's a poet. He probably didn't mention he's a poet.
I think knowing the method of transportation on Bon Jovi, I think it calls for a modification to my most famous poem. And here it is. I'm going to throw it right out here. Here it comes.
All right, here we go. I like that sorry, I just had to say, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a new vocalist who's been trying out on the stage.
Yes.
And in the background it's wonderful, and I think it provides perfect accompaniment for whatever your poem will be, and I just wanted to...
I think so, too.
Yes. Also, I think we might as well just say that Max took your advice to get a throat vocal cord sheening, and that's why we've got this new vocalist here that is Trellis's fault.
Right. Okay. Oh, you're blaming me?
Or giving you credit, depending on how people feel about Max.
Oh, that's true. I mean, if this new singer is a hit, then yes, I will take the credit. If not, they do actually look kind of tasty. So
I like the legs.
I'm thinking they may make some a flume and onion.
A flume and onion.
Is that something that you have on the planet? Anyways, let me get to my poem. You're distracting me, and you're keeping the universe from the sequel of my most famous poem.
I wanted to give anyone out there who wanted to record this time to go get a tape recorder or something.
They should have it by now. If they didn't, they're going to have to buy it, and that's perfectly all right with me. So, the sequel to my most famous poem is this. Flumin', how you doing?
Of course, his most famous poem.
That's right. It's Cumin, how you doing?
Yes. Now, keep in mind, that's the entire poem.
Yes.
That's not the title goes on for days, but that's the entire poem right there.
Exactly. And actually, I think it's the perfect follow-up. It's the perfect follow-up to Cumin, how you doing? It's the same, but slightly different. So people aren't completely thrown. It's innovative, but not too innovative, Ampersand. So you're not going to have to put the clamps down on it.
That's right. Stay in your box.
Exactly.
You don't venture out too far from success. That's the thing. Make small innovations. That's evolution.
Yes,
I believe there's no
exactly.
greater tribute than to repurpose a song you wrote for someone else by changing one word. I think no greater tribute. It shows that you put thought into it, I suppose.
Some thought. Maybe not effort, but thought.
Isn't that wonderful? It's like rewrapping a gift in the same paper.
And you can call it parody, so you're not subject to any kind of laws that may say you're infringing upon a patent.
True.
Or a trademark or whatever.
Could I sue myself for infringement?
I'd like to see you try. I would watch it.
I think that would be an interesting court case, to be honest. Gardeen versus Gardeen.
Oh, and you can also make sure that you have different plastic surgery so it looks like you're two different people.
Yes. Obviously there couldn't be two of me there at once, but I go change it up every day, alternating, and it looks like there's two different me's, just, not there at the same time, obviously.
Sorry, we're taking focus away from the guest.
Yes, we did. I went on a tangent. I had to get my poem in, but I could see.
I was very moved.
You did about 2 inches.
Yeah, that's right. I moved slightly to the edge of the booth because I kind of...
Moving away from you.
Moving away from you, yes. It's an interesting concept. It's just I don't want to get any of your poetry on me.
Most people don't.
No.
Most people don't. They can't handle it.
Oftentimes when he recites poetry, there's a splatter zone in the front row where they have plastic over them, and they've been told not to wear their best clothes.
Not. That's because people are crying. They're so moved by my poetry that they don't want to get their tears all over their clothes.
As far as you know, that's what's going on. Yes.
That is exactly what's happening. I took a survey the last time I snuck on stage before Max had me pulled off.
Quickly.
And that is the resulting, well, how else would you pull?
Well,
something?
one of the reasons his poems are so short is because he's given so little time to say them.
Right. I have to. My medium has to be quick, because I usually don't get a lot of time to say.
And he has to be able to say them as he's being pulled off with a giant hook.
My poems are short too because there's only so many words I can think of that rhyme with Nantucket.
Yes. That is the bane of the bard's existence, isn't it?
Very much so. Very much so. So, do you have a significant other?
Oh.
Yeah, I met her in a flume.
Oh, how unusual.
A chance meeting on a flume. Yeah. Well, I was hatched from a clutch of 10.
Hatched from a clutch of 10.
Yeah. Well, we don't have dozens by us. We were in metric system, so we do 10.
Okay.
And hatched from a clutch of 10, and was kind of actually was the only one that survived. So that's why they called me Ampersand.
Did you eat the other ones?
No. They went down the flume and were eaten.
Oh, yes. That is
So bad, you know.
You were smart enough. You were smart enough not to do it, or you were like the last in line, and whatever it was at the end was full.
I was lucky to get in the mating flume, and ended up with my significant other, and so that's how that one works.
That was meant to be.
But yes, very, very good. And my significant other, it's been about 6 years since we first got together in that flume collision, and that's been a wonderful time, great experience.
Oh, what's your significant other's name?
Surprisingly, Gardeen.
What?
Ooh, what?
Could you be? No, two totally different
What?
species. Gardeen.
Yeah,
I was going to say that's a lovely name, but I don't know. It reminds me of something unpleasant.
I think it's spelled differently. I think it's Gardeen.
That is how I spell my name, my last name, Ampersand.
This is getting weird.
This is getting a little
weird.
awkward.
What
Yes,
is your
very
Do you
awkward.
have a picture of your significant other?
Yeah, I do. Right here in my wallet. You can see right here.
That's one of my exes,
Is
Oh, that's
wait,
why-
Which one is that?
Sheena.
Oh, Sheena. Yes, I remember Sheena.
It's Sheena.
I didn't know she was from the planet Bon Jovi.
Well, I did because
I don't know. She and I obviously we didn't talk a lot.
we met, and our song was because we actually tried the whole mating flume. So apparently she likes to go back to the well, if you will. And our song was "Splash Into Me," and by the very popular band, Wave Matthews. And as we know, my marriages don't work out really well. She was part of the 23 Forces, but clearly she made her way back there to hook up with you, Ampersand, which is totally cool because we were a disaster from beginning.
And on Bon Jovi, one of our mottos is sloppy seconds are just fine here.
Oh, that's wonderful. Wonderful attitude.
Well, yeah, I mean everything coming out of a flume is sloppy.
Yeah, that's our thing.
I see nothing wrong with seconds, thirds, whatever.
Right.
That's right. 23rds.
Take all you want, but eat what you take.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, as long as it's filling, who cares when you get to it, right? I think this is a happy note to go out on for this episode. Yes.
Is that a happy note? It's nice to see that she moved on and
Exactly.
that she found happiness after all those years of torture.
Of misery.
Misery.
Of utter misery.
I would say torture, but it wasn't torture so much as
Torture
just,
would mean I was actively making her miserable rather than
Yes.
just kind of being me.
It's misery. It's like torture is like pain, whereas the other is a bit like a dull ache that just follows you around and follows you around, and you think, when is this going to end? At least with the pain, there was something to believe in. This is nothing. It's hollow. Sorry, I retreated into myself for a moment.
Horatio, what do you have for our entry for Bon Jovi and Ampersand?
I have so many things. One of the things, and I don't think this works as an entry, but this just intrigued me, and we could do a whole program on my interest in this one. It drops a bag of whatever you want. I don't remember exactly where that came in, but
I don't remember where that came up.
I just like the idea of someone dropping a bag of whatever I want. I just think that sounds lovely.
I think that's being selfish. I think you're trying to
Oh, of
sneak
course
an
it
entry
is.
in that's
Self-preservation,
particularly just for
yeah.
you and not for our guest.
Let's see. Another one is try to limit being eaten at the end of the flume. That's not very dancy. Trying to find. I had something. Curtailing bad juju. Curtailing bad juju.
But what about the the whole stifling of innovation?
Yes, that sounds fine to me. It's like
Bon Jovi
squashing
innovation,
slippery when wet.
along with hopes and ooh, yeah, there is that.
Well, kind of a whole planet of Amish.
Ah,
Flume-loving Amish. We're going to have a flume raising tonight.
There you go.
flume raising. Oh, it's going to be good. We haven't even gotten into whether you use buttons or zippers or clasps or anything there.
We already talked about this. They dip the latex on.
No, we dip. Yeah.
Oh, they dip that in there, yes. I suppose any clasp,
Yes.
those buttons are just on as adornments. We could do a whole other show on your fashion.
How about
It's interesting. We get to the end of these episodes and find we have so many more questions to ask.
I like Bon Jovi stifling innovation.
Ooh, stifling when wet.
Ooh, yes.
Stifling when
I love
wet.
it. Stifling when wet.
I will
there we
type
go.
that in.
Bon Jovi.
Are you typing
stifling
it?
with wet? I'm typing.
You
I'm
type
typing. You
it.
type the last one. I'm doing this
yes,
one.
I
I want to make sure my stuff gets covered tonight and
Yes.
not yours.
Yes,
So,
I want to make sure your stuff gets covered
Stifling
too,
when
because I want
wet.
to be able to eat.
Submit. That's in there. That's in the guide. You are Ampersand. You and Bon Jovi are now in the guide
Yes.
for all eternity, or until their
Wonderful.
servers crash.
Wonderful. Yes.
Well, it was wonderful talking to you. I really appreciate sitting down and discussing where I'm from, spreading the joy and the word of the flumage of Bon Jovi.
And good luck with the Ifyard.
Yes, the Fjord.
Ifjord.
And be sure to tell Sheena I hate her. Thank you for joining us for Hitchhikers and Appetizers. And of course, special thanks goes to our guest, Ampersand. I have been Trellis Gardeen.
And I continue to be Horatio Zinn. Until next time, keep your towels clean. And if you're a bored space teenager, you can always borrow your parents' spaceship, fly to a primitive planet, and collect specimens for your school science project. So don't panic. Everything you heard in this episode was improvised, but not everything improvised was heard. This episode of Hitchhikers and Appetizers featured the voice talents of Mike Gorgone as Trellis Gardeen, Bran Peacock as Horatio Zinn, and Dr. Kevin Folta, Ph.D., as Ampersand. Finally, Hitchhikers and Appetizers is part of the Improv in Action Network. Check out other great improvised podcasts and projects at improvinaction.com. If you'd like to reach out to Trellis or Horatio, you can send electronic messages to them at our Galaxy address, hitchappspodcast@gmail.com. Or you can find them on Twitter with the handle hitchapps.
And before you go, we here at Hitchhikers and Appetizers would like to announce that we're now a featured podcast on Newsly. Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Browse articles from topics you choose and start playing. Stop scrolling, start listening. You can follow any topic, as specific as you like. From sports, tech, business, science, Bitcoin, or even the Kardashians. We here at Hitchhikers and Appetizers won't judge you. To your face, at least. Newsly will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. As mentioned earlier, our podcast is there too. I started using it as my default podcast app. They even have digital radio. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in this episode's description, and use the promo code ZERS, Z-E-R-S, to receive a 1-month free premium subscription. 1 month is better than no months, I always say, and I'm Trellis Gardeen.
Shut up and sit down.